welcome to another episode of Ask an Assistant, the podcast for executive assistants and the people that love us. I'm your host, Jess Lindgren. Let's get to work. This week's question comes from Esteemed Colleague Roy, who wrote in via askanassistant.com with the following question. Roy says, "Hey Jess, I noticed on your LinkedIn that you have a new title, which is Executive Business Manager, yet you maintain a podcast called Ask an Assistant. What's up with that?" Roy, thank you so much for taking the time to reach out. It is true. I do have a relatively new title, which is Executive Business Manager. I do have it tied back to a start date of December of 2020, but honestly, I didn't even know that my exec was doing Pokemon stuff on YouTube that far back. And actually, now that I say that, I do remember him getting into Pokemon with his family and starting a new YouTube channel. But new YouTube channels are really nothing new for my executive. I think he's had, at least a dozen over the dozen years that we've worked together. I mean, in the food truck space, in the online business space, shorts channels, clips channels, streaming like he's done it all. He's really experimented a lot with YouTube over the years. And at the time, I didn't realize that it was anything serious, maybe more of a pandemic era hobby. And thinking back to December of 2020, I don't think any of us on the team, whether directly or tangentially involved in the channel, any of us involved in the channel, in the business, could have imagined the sharp turn toward extreme awesomeness that the Pokemon-related stuff was going to take. Things have scaled up massively for our small but mighty team in the Pokemon space, and we are working more and more with people in the entertainment sphere, nearly all of whom, this is my personal limited experience, opinion, what have you, take it with a grain of salt. People in the entertainment sphere tend to treat people with the word assistant in their title very differently than someone with the word business and or the word manager in their title. Do with that information what you will. Again, this is just my limited personal experience, anecdote, opinion, whatever. Take that, just do with that what you will. My executive and I talked for about a year about a title change for me before we made any moves. I really wanted to hold on to executive assistant, both for the podcast, for what's the word I'm looking for? Like advocacy for people with assistant titles. And it just eventually became more and more clear, the more things that we did in the entertainment space, that we needed to make a change. Like it became apparent that it just had to happen. So we toyed around with a lot of different options, made a big list, pros and cons, did some job title research, especially in entertainment. There are specific terms that mean specific things, and we eventually settled on business manager. I don't have time right now to give you a whole Princess Carolyn assistant versus agent versus manager and Hollywood tirade. I would love to someday, so put a pin in that. We'll do a little rain check on that one, but trust that a manager is a different thing. Like if you are specifically a talent manager versus, so I didn't want to just say manager. Plus a friend of mine who is in the entertainment sphere and has been for many years made the really good point of like, what are you managing, Jess? If you're just a manager, like, do you manage a grocery store? Do you manage something in the entertainment sphere? Like what, you need something a little more specific than just manager. So that is how business manager came to be. And I do handle a lot of my executives' business affairs. So like contract negotiation, following up on payments, interfacing with legal and financial professionals, stuff like that. So it made sense. It felt good. It felt like a good change to go from executive assistant to business manager. However, recently I was working with a friend of mine, Jake Ruzzi, to design business cards for me and my exec, and I fully settled on the title of executive business manager to cover all the bases in a way that feels good and natural and authentic to me. Still some percentage of executive assistant work, but a step up in terms of business affairs, overall management, and just terminology that really makes sense to people in entertainment. There has been, since the job title change, a noticeable shift in the way that people treat me, both externally and my executive himself, in a really great way. I do want to caveat here that my executive has never treated me poorly when I have worked with him as his executive assistant over the years. But since the title change, I have been brought into more rooms. I have been taking meetings by myself that in the past I would have sat in on and given some impressions after the fact. I've also been advising on projects in really new and exciting ways, and it's like a whole new level of empowerment and responsibility and trust. Like, in fairness, a lot of the opportunities for me to have more input and influence and sway over these things are new to us as well. We have worked for a very long time with the same team and familiar structures and that kind of thing. And the split to the Deep Pocket Monster, the Pokemon side of things, we're working with new people, we're working with new teams. And again, I really want to stress that my executive has never treated me as less than during my tenure as his EA. But the job title change has been an unexpectedly wonderful, welcome change in my overall work environment, my happiness, and job satisfaction. Like, very unexpected, but very wonderful and appreciated and enjoyable. But Roy, getting back to your actual question, what my title change means is communicating to the new world, entertainment versus entrepreneurship, the new world that we are navigating. Like, it's communicating to these folks that I am my executive's right-hand gal. I am fully authorized to do a wonderful job representing him in situations where he's not able to be present. My advice, I always have his best interests at heart. I always have his full support and backing and all of that good stuff. And like, just, he'll make an introduction like, hey, this is my business manager, this is Jess. But then I get to take the relationship fully from there. And it's been wonderful. To anybody who's listening, if you are thinking about a title shakeup, let me know what you're considering. Maybe an executive business partner, a C-suite manager, or maybe even a natural off-ramp to the chief of staff world. Definitely depending on your org chart. Some of the work may remain the same even with a title change. I go by executive business manager because it makes sense for entertainment, but I also spend a percentage of my time, harkening back to Ask an Assistant episode number 6, a link to that will be in the show notes. I still spend a percentage of my time performing executive assistant and personal assistant work with my executive and his family. We are not a big enough operation yet to merit having 3 separate people to do the work. And the time split that I'm working with now, I would say 5, maybe 10% personal assistant work. Like, it's definitely been ratcheting up lately, which I love. As much as I love the executive business manager stuff, like, it's really exciting doing all of this, like, Hollywood stuff, man. Like, this, I'll tell you a story about that a different day, but like, this has always been my goal, to work with someone in Hollywood. Like, it's very exciting. It's very new. But in an ideal world, I would love to I would love to solely be a personal assistant. I would love to leave the business side of things behind, even though I'm very good at it, even though I like it. I love the personal assistant side of stuff so much more. I love taking care of people. I love managing households and estates and contractors and that kind of thing. Like, I love it. So fingers crossed, someday in the pipeline. But for now, the time split percentage shakes out to be, let's just say 10% personal assistant, maybe 20 to 30% executive assistant work. And then that leaves 50, no, oh my gosh. If we said 30 to 40 plus 10, so 50 to 60% of executive business manager. My goodness, pardon my late night math. But yeah, the split is really good. Ratcheting up a little bit in the personal assistant world, have definitely scaled back executive assistant type stuff, and executive business manager. Like, there's definitely some overlap between EA and EBM. Don't have that acronym down just yet. Executive business manager. So definitely some overlap between EA and EBM work, if you will. But it works really well for us. It works really well for me. I don't feel pressed for time. I don't feel overloaded. I don't feel like I'm being stretched in too many directions. And the places that I have recently felt some growing pains, we have been able to offload some things and create some new systems and processes. Nothing AI related, mind you. But that's a different topic for a different day too. That's a topic we've already addressed on the show here. Where is the AI episode? It is AI, yay or nay. It is episode Ask an Assistant 65. There will be a link to that in the show notes as well. We are not creating AI systems and processes. No, thank you. But we've created some new systems and processes that have just made things a little bit easier. We've offloaded some things. We've hired a couple people on very part-time bases, however you want to say that. We've hired a few people to take some of the things off my plate that I just don't have time, space, bandwidth to handle anymore. But overall, that time split, 10%, 40%, and 50%, feels really good. And I love it. I love the change. I love the new world that we're navigating. I love the entertainment sphere. I do. I love Hollywood. I love movies. I love music. I love all of it. So very, very exciting change. Anybody out there with a question burning a hole in their brain, askanassistant.com. I always love to hear from you. That's it for this week. I hope you're all happy, healthy, and hydrated, or at least 2 of the 3. And comments, questions, thoughts, concerns, again, askanassistant.com. And until next week, take care.